Hey, what's good YouTube? Antayami back with another video. In today's video, I have a cool deck profile. I went to locals with Evil Twins, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the deck actually performed a lot better than I thought it would. I literally only had like, 2 days of practice with this deck. I randomly decided to like build it just because, I don't know. I just felt like hand traps were really good in this meta. And for a deck that literally has like a little small engine that's very consistent and that can play like a ton of hand traps is like remarkable. So I decided to take it to locals and went undefeated. So let me go ahead and talk about some of the, the rounds I went through. My first round, I won the dice roll versus Dragon Heretics, which was a really cool deck. I went first, basically did the bread and butter for the live twin stuff, set up my board pretty well, multiple hand traps, basically stopped his push because he was trying to go for like OTK, stopped that, and then turn 3 I basically just kind of like OTK'd. Game 2 he went first, but had a very weird hand. So I basically impermed one of his like first plays, and that was basically a pass. And then, of course, I went with my, my combo, went over his board, poked for 55, and he didn't have any gas. Cause I drew into like way more hand traps. I think I drew into like a Droll, I drew into a Lancia. I still had like 2 imperms, and it was ridiculous. It was pretty much a wrap. So that was my first round. My second round was versus Mech Knights. Mech Knight Invoked. Game 1, I think I did. Yeah, I think I won the dice roll, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going first anyway. So game 1, I wouldn't say like bricked, but if I don't open up a starter, I can't really play. And I just opened like literally just hand traps. My first 5 cards were hand traps, and then my 6th card was like a Veiler, so I couldn't play. And he had a DPE in the loop, so I was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and move on to the next game. Game 2 and 3, I think in game 2 I make him go first, of course. I hand trapped like the gear suit, and that was basically a pass, so I pretty much won from there. And then in game 3 I go first. I forget what I do. I forgot what I did. I think I made a board with the Trouble Sunny, and I felt like he tried to like push through it. His invocation, also he plays Alistair as well, so it's like a Mech Knight invoked that plays Gearsu, which I thought that was like a lot of normal summons. So I think he bricked on 2 Gearsus and an Alistair. He went for the Alistair play, and that got like hand trapped. And then I pretty much cleared his board and went for the OTK line. And that was how that set went, which is pretty phenomenal. Game 1, I was very scared because I was like, bro, if I don't open optimally, I literally just get OTK by this deck. But yeah, games 2 and 3 were really solid. In round 3, I went against Utopia. Didn't know what the deck does. But long story short, I lose the dice roll, and I drew the one of Nib, which helped out a lot. And the Ghost Ogre. The Ghost Ogre blew up that spell card that allows him to draw so many cards, and then I nibbed his board, and that was pretty much a wrap from there. And then in game 2, pretty much the same thing, except for now I had 3 nibs and Drolls and a whole bunch of other like hand traps. And yeah, it was just too much for this deck. This deck does not play well through hand traps at all. Ash Blossom really shot in this matchup too, because he kept trying to use the spell card to search. I think he like, it was like send 1 card to the hand and then add 2. I actually had like both games, which was phenomenal. So yeah, that was a 2-0 from there. 2-0, 2-1, 2-0, and then I 2-0 Virtual Worlds. I just had everything. I mean, it was just crazy. I went first. I made like, of course, the standard board with hand traps. He couldn't play through it. It was really cool. He couldn't establish a card because he had the 1 spell card that searched or that placed out the what's it called? I forget what it's called. The Tucci, the trap card, and he had Lulu. So I asked the Lulu, and then he went for Kieran's effect. Got the dumps, you know, whatever. And I just literally just hand trapped through all that. I think I Ghost Ogred something, and I think I Veiler something else, and he just couldn't play through like the pop and the draw. It was just crazy. And then in game 2, he goes first, and I hand trap accordingly. So basically, he pretty much ended on 2-Chi face up, which was live, and he also ended on a Shinshin. And this is the only time, once we get into the deck profile, it's the only time where the Zeus came up. So I used the Sky Cavalry to bounce back the I can't even think their names. My brain, I'm sorry, I'm extremely tired, guys, if you guys can't already tell. But I used the Sky Cavalry to bounce back the Shinshin, and then made a really fat Zeus, and that pretty much won me the game from there. But yes, that was the matchup. So very fun. I will go over this deck profile, and these 2 piles right here is my main deck. This is my side deck, and this is my extra deck. So I pretty much organized it in like engine to like, you know, I guess non-engine cards. So let's just go ahead and get into it. All right, so for the non-engines, we have 3 Ash, 3 Ghost Ogre. Card is insane. I love this card. It's like my favorite card in the format. 3 Veilers, and then we have 3 more Veilers. Really, really good. You draw a lot in this deck, and drawing into Veilers is really sick, where drawing into Imperm is not like as live, but it depends on these cards, but it's still really, really good. A lot of people did try to go for like Verte, and this card really represented to like shut them down. It was really, really cool. And then like the one of like hand traps, I played the 1 Nib, the 1 Ghost Bell, and then the 1 Lancia. And I guess I explain why I played the 1 Lancia in a bit once we get to the extra deck. But yeah, that's the hand trap lineup. I believe that's 15 hand traps in the main. Very, very, very good. And by the way, this is a 40 card deck. For the other non-engine cards, I played the Crossouts and the Call by the Grave. Funny enough, the times I drew the Crossouts, I never had to like use it for a hand traps or anything, because my opponents never had the hand traps. But I think I Call by the Grave twice. I knew I Call by the Grave Nyan in the Virtual World matchup, and that kind of helped me solidify the game. And then I think I Call by the Grave versus Dragons. I forget what card it was. Oh, it was I Call by the Grave. This guy actually. He was trying to bring it back with like Redem D or something, and I Call by the Grave it. It was really good. So yeah, that's the only time that came up. Never used it for hand traps. I did get hand trap, but I didn't have those cards, so it's just like, you know, whatever. But my deck also can just extend through hand traps. For the other cards, these are the last cards I used for like non-engine, was 1 Scythe and triple droplets. So all pretty much self-explanatory there. Another cool thing in theory of why I did play the Crossout Detonators, just in case if my opponent tried to go for a Scythe lock, it was a really cool way to like, if they didn't have a protection or whatever, or if they like happened to like play through my hand traps but yet can still like DPE Scythe me, then Crossout also came up for that. So that was the theory behind that as well. But again, I'll explain why I play those cards in the main deck once we get to the extra deck. So anyway, we have, for the core, the pure engine of the deck, very consistent. We have 3 Lilas, which is the better normal summon, by the way, and 3 of the Kizakill, 2 Frost, and then 1 Treat. So I believe this is like super standard. I don't see any difference on the ratios. I feel like this is like perfect and performed absolutely phenomenal. Would not change this ever. Like, that's literally the standard of the deck. Going into the spell cards, we have the 3 Sonic Snitch, 3 Passwords, and I play 2 Live Twin Homes. Very, very cool with this card. This card actually came in clutch versus the Virtual World, because He kind of misplayed because I opened with this card and he had an Ash Blossom. He thought about it and didn't Ash me. And I literally had 4 hand traps in the hand. So if he would have Ashed me there, he would have had like a super great time like playing against me. But he didn't do it because this deck is really awkward to hand trap, because a lot of times if you hand trap like one of my starter monsters, I can just literally search and extend and just completely play the game. So very understandable. This deck is really awkward to hand trap sometimes. But I will show you guys the weakness or the 2 hand traps that literally destroy this deck. So yes, 40 in the main deck. Very good. I think I literally bricked 1 game, which was versus the Mech Knight player. But every other game I had, it was like legit playable. It was always like 1 engine, 2 engine cards with hand traps, and it was like phenomenal. For the side deck, I played the Gamma package. Did not resolve this once because I didn't need to. But I did have it, which was really strong. Every time I went second, it was always in the main deck, and it was like there. It was just really cool. Triple Droll, didn't resolve this card at all, but I did have it, just didn't need to use it. Versus, I think I drew versus Dragons and never used it. Double Nibiru. Card is just amazing. It literally won me free games versus the Utopia deck and Dragons. It was really insane. And of course the 2 Lancias in the side deck. Very good cards. Freaking love this card. Helped me win versus Mech Knights. Triple Cosmic Cyclones and Harpy Feathers Duster, just in case for like back row and floodgates. Did not resolve any of those cards because I never went against any back row heavy decks. But the cards I think I sided in versus Mech Knights, or I guess these cards were for Mech Knights, just in case they had like, you know, crazy back row, because sometimes they do play like the key and, you know, whatever. So, you know, just in case. Going into the extra deck, we have triple Kill. We have the triple Lila. I feel like this is pretty much standard. I think I've seen like a 3-2 ratio from this before, but I really love the 3, because this deck doesn't really have a strong grind game. If the game go on too long, then these resources can disappear real quick if you're not careful. Oh, also, real fun fact. You guys notice in my main deck that I don't play that 1 giant brick card, because I really do hate bricks, because, you know, this deck is like really consistent. Yeah, I don't play her. You don't really need to play her. There's plays around just using these monsters, sending them to the graveyard, and then you use the other one to bring them back. It's actually really cool. And it does the same thing, and you don't have to play the brick. Because my luck, I always draw the 1 brick. It's ridiculous, and it will probably cost me. Of course, you play the triple Sunny. Very standard. Think that's how you pretty much play the deck. And then for like the non-engine portion, I played the 1 Underworld Goddess. Never came up, but there was times where I could have like just went into her, but it was just like no reason, because it was just better for me to maintain the rotation with the live twin cards. So very good. Would not cut this ever, but I mean, I might, I don't know, but it's just, you know, you never know, it may come up, because your deck does like swarm very easily, and you can just contact the board, which is really cool. This card is MVP, bro. It helps sets up OTKs. It's ridiculous. So basically, if you have a Link on board, you normal summon, because I remember one time I made this with like Valor, so I normal summon Hand Trap, Link into this, and then you link into your Trouble Sunny, and this right here is 28, your Trouble Sunny is 38, and then you tag out for 22, and that's like what, 83 points of damage or something. It's over 8k. So it helped me push for game, because people don't think that this deck can OTK, but this card definitely helps fix that problem. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, never summoned it, but it was there in theory. And then this came up in the very last game, and this bouncing Shin was super huge, because he couldn't like just bring it back out of the graveyard and punch. So I attacked into it, took 800, detached, bounced it back, then down at Zeus, and he just couldn't play Virtual Worlds after that, because he was down to like 3 cards after his draw phase, and he tried to like normal summon and reveal, and I Zeus wipe, and then it was pretty much a wrap from there. So, and yes, guys, with Underworld Goddess, I made this decision at the very last second. This was a Dagda, and there is a really strong Dagda line that you can go into that you can actually like Scythe your opponent with this deck, and you don't need DPE because you can actually just blow up Scythe with the Lila. But I decided to go for a card because it didn't really come up like too often, and I don't know, I kept the Scythe in the deck just in case like if I hard drew it, it was like a very surprise factor for my opponent, but I never resolved it for that reason. In practice, I have randomly resolved Scythe because it was like, you know, haha funny, but yeah, it was just a card that if I hard drew into it, I had it. But it was also really good for the cross out. So that's another reason why I had it in my deck. So, you know, if I hard drew it, then I could Scythe my opponent. But if I didn't hard draw it, then I could cross out Designator Scythe, which is really cool. So yeah, and I just thought this will come up more if I need it, you know, so yes. So yes, guys, that was the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I had a really, really good time with this deck. This deck, I feel like, is a very underrated deck. Again, since hand traps are like all over the place and this deck can play through hand traps pretty well, I feel like it's a really great contender to take to tournaments. I don't know how it would do at a high scale, but I really think that at least at a locals, you know, section, it would definitely perform very well. And I literally had a really good time just going through the deck. As long as I saw my engine, I just feel like I felt so comfortable. Never felt scared. I always feel like I had a grip of the game. It was like really, really, really cool. So anyway, guys, that's the deck profile. If you guys liked it, you know, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, of course. And if you guys really like the channel and stuff like that, and, you know, if it helps you, you know, if you guys want to try out Live Twins, you know, just go ahead and hit the subscribe, because we are trying to push to 1,000 subscribers at some point. Hopefully we can get that like kind of soon, but if I don't get there, it's, you know, we're making subscribers slowly. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching. Have a great one. Peace.